So I wanted to quickly introduce our feature speaker today, Courtney Hakanson, who has been tremendously supportive to Branchfood. And so I'm psyched that she's our kickoff speaker today. Courtney is a consultant with more than 12 years of experience in digital brand building and strategy, with client experience representing Fortune 500 brands across hospitality, consumer packaged goods, and the lifestyle sectors. She's been part of several digital crisis communications teams during her time with Marriott International, Michelin Guides, and Mattel. And Courtney has been functioning as a full-time independent consultant under Courtney Hakanson Consulting since 2013. Welcome, Courtney. We're thrilled to have you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. So you can share your screen and please feel free to take it away.
Great. And everyone can still see my screen right now, yes? Great. Perfect. So I'm so happy to be here. As Lauren said, I have a background in digital marketing around strategy and brand building, and have been fortunate enough to be in this industry for about 12 years. Today, I'm going to share some details on kind of what we can do right now, given the circumstances with COVID-19, to help to drive your business forward during a time that's complicated and I think difficult for everyone, especially in this vertical. A few numbers I wanted to dial into first before we launch into some of the strategic recommendations. So obviously, with a shift to our lives being online, there's been some very interesting shifts in e-commerce and how people are spending their money, of course. Online purchase for shelf-stable items are up by 69% and 58% respectively. And given preliminary statistics that we're seeing provided by IDC, e-com will see revenue boost of about 5% this year due to the pandemic, adding $175 billion in revenue in 2020. And by 2022, more than 60% of the global GDP will be digitized, and every industry will drive growth by digitally enhanced offerings, operations, and relationships, and almost $7 trillion in IT-related spending between 2019 and 2022. So my reason for sharing these statistics are twofold. Number one, to show that there is still opportunity in a time where things might still feel desperate, scary, and confusing, especially within a small business. And also to show that as we move forward, any work you do now will help set up your digital infrastructure for increased revenue and success for your business, even once we go back to whatever the new normal will be for our economy. So as I said, the digital realm is our new reality during this pandemic and beyond. One thing that I think this experience has brought into sharp focus for most is that digital infrastructure is really important to weather storms like this, and also to engage with your customers, whether they're local, national, or global. And being able to shift to that will help you in the future. So anything you can do now during this time as you're navigating these uncertain kind of waters as a business will help you in the future whenever we go back to that new normal, as we said. So what now? What are the things we should be doing? One question that I've been asked by a lot of business owners are, what are the things I can do immediately now to make sure that my business is safe moving forward and has the right kind of foundation and launching plan to weather something that we don't necessarily have a timeline on. So first and foremost, launch or continue your crisis communications. And I'll get into some examples of what that might look like shortly. Number two, identify your call to action, share, and feature prominently across your digital channels. 3, engage your community. And 4, invest in digital with an eye towards the future, not necessarily just for the short term. So when we talk about crisis communications, in this case, it's really issuing a statement about how your business is functioning under the current pandemic, and make it one of the first things consumers see when they visit your homepage, if possible. As you'll see on Branchfood's digital resources and platforms, the messaging is front and center. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we want to help. Here's what you can do. If you've adapted your services in light of the pandemic, let consumers know that. That's really important in this initial communication. Ensure your messaging is on brand and appropriate for the situation. One thing that a lot of brands are learning to navigate in this time with their initial crisis communications is, how do you talk about this in an appropriate way? How do you, obviously not make light of a situation that is changing every day and clearly very serious, not only to the economy, but to health and families and the livelihood and well-being of people around the world. So we're going to look at some examples of what other brands within the space have done in the last few weeks. So at the top, you'll see Lauren's message. Again, you can view that on the Branchfood digital channels. You also see an Amy's Kitchen message, Impossible Foods, Daily Harvest, and the Imperfect Foods as well. So one thing that you see consistently done here is, again, saying to our community, we are here. We might not necessarily be functioning at the same level, but we are continuing to be here as a brand in your life and hoping to provide you with resources when we can, if we can, under these new circumstances. I definitely urge you to go to your competitors or go to other brands you admire in the space and see how they're handling, see how they're messaging it. Obviously, given the gravity of the situation, the communications are going to be a little more serious. These are not going to be lighthearted or jokey. It's going to be focused on support and focus within the different communities, and you'll see that consistently across the messaging. I have a feeling probably many of you have already issued messages like these on your social or digital platforms, and if you have, that's great. If you haven't, that's fine. It's been a really uncertain time, and a lot of people are still trying to get their feet on the ground and determine how they actually engage on digital platforms with their consumers. So you can go back now, look at these messaging, draft up your own message, and again, tweet it out, share on your relevant social channels, or at the very least, make sure it's front and center on your website so consumers know how to get that information or what they, when they're checking in and actually going to your digital platforms. Which kind of brings us to our next point, which is in some senses connected. You need to determine what your call to action is. So one thing that I think is really important, and many of you have probably seen emerge within different businesses in this vertical and others in the last few weeks, is brands identifying what their call to action is. So that call to action really is, what are you asking your consumers to do? What are you asking for others to do? And this call to action should help solve for whatever challenges your business is currently facing. So for example, it might be informing your customers of a different path to purchase. We've heard a lot of feedback that Amazon has not been a great kind of way to sell your product given the demand and issues they're facing right now. So is there a different way for consumers to purchase your product online? Make sure that they're seeing that and they understand that's an option. Or is there an incentive to purchase during this time? Are you offering free shipping? Are you matching a certain donation for a portion of your sales? Keep those, determine what that might look like. Sharing details about an employee relief fund. So something you've seen a lot within the hospitality industry specifically is people starting relief funds. You've seen a lot in Boston, a lot in New York, and now it's obviously popping up in San Francisco and LA as well. So the idea that you can donate money or, and we mentioned this just under there, the idea of buying a gift card or paying for future services. So you're not necessarily just donating media, it's actually paying for something to, get something from your favorite vendor in the future. Again, depending on your business, this call to action might look totally different, but determine what that single call to action is and make sure you are featuring it prominently. So the next point being, how do you feature that prominently? So most social channels will offer the option to pin or to feature a specific message. As you know, on Twitter, you can pin a tweet to the top. Facebook, you can pin a post. You can have a highlight reel on Instagram in your profile. Make sure that you're taking that call to action and potentially also that initial messaging about how your big business is functioning around crisis communications and feature them prominently. Make sure they're there. You want it to be the first thing consumers see for a variety of reasons. One, they want to help, most likely. If they're coming to your channels to engage, they want to support your business. But on top of that, I think it shows that you are dialed in, obviously, to the current situation. I can't even tell you how many brands out there are not actually sharing messaging on this, which I think at this point, everyone needs to. We need to have some sort of messaging about what's happening to your business, or at least a stance on where you are within the global landscape in terms of if you can function or not. If you haven't already issued your initial crisis communications, like I mentioned earlier, you can also include this call to action in that. If you've already issued that crisis communication, that's fine. Move on, have a CTA, and feature it prominently. Moving on, here are some additional examples. We have issuing very specific calls to action. DoorDash, Copa, which is here in Boston, they have everything from a call to action to call a representative around the Independent Restaurant Coalition and the Relief Fund to buy a gift card to support that. You also have something as simple as Flow Hydration asking for you to actually purchase directly from their digital platform and having it delivered to your door. Again, it can be as simple as here's a different way to purchase our product to this is how we're getting involved in our community from a political standpoint. And also this is how we're trying to make sure our staff and our team and our brand stays afloat during these difficult times. Going on to our third step, engage your community. So many are feeling lonely and devoid of human interaction at this point. And I think that's unfortunately a universal experience that people all over the world are experiencing, and certainly people who are in quarantine or in lockdown like many of us are. However, digital infrastructure does offer us a means to contact the outside world, which is of course a double-edged sword, but in this case is, it's something, which is great. This is a fantastic time to speak to your community via your digital channels, via your social channels, and lend support through engagement if you have the bandwidth. We'll look at a few examples in a moment about how other brands have done this, but this can be something as simple as soliciting a call to, how is everyone feeling? What are you doing to pass the time? What are you making? What are you cooking? What are you eating? What are you watching, right? To more complex, like it could be creating a custom Zoom background that has something with your having to do with your business or your creative vision that you can offer consumers to utilize on their own, or hosting, say, a giveaway of some product. Here you'll see some examples of how other brands are handling this. Great Jones is a great example. They actually had launched a hotline for people to DM them on Instagram and say, here's what I have and I'm trying to figure out what to cook this weekend. And they would provide recipes, walk them through. Again, this is a little more heavy lifting, but just an example of something that's fun and super helpful in a time like now where people are struggling to figure out what to do with pantry essentials and don't necessarily have the same tools readily accessible to go out to dinner or have food made for them. Again, heavier lifting there, but looking at maybe some of the more simple things, you could, like you see here, like Misfits Market did, create a Zoom background, which again, you can use a lot of different platforms to create very specific, very basic stuff, or do a giveaway like Not Just did. Again, you can also just ask your consumers how they're doing, engage with them via your DMs, and offer some of that personal interaction on your digital channels to make them feel seen, supported, and also that will drive brand loyalty. Not that it's all about the brand loyalty or brand building in this day and age at this point, but it will drive brand loyalty and authenticity for your overall brand. Jumping to our last point, investing in digital. So I want to be really clear, we're really just going to do a quick overview on this. I could talk about this for hours and it's going to be different for every brand, but keep in mind that the quarantine will be lifted and consumer behaviors will resume to a new normal, whatever that is. Obviously, we don't have a timeline on that, and we don't know exactly what that new normal will be. That being said, anything you do to invest in that digital infrastructure from here on out is going to help you. So this might be as simple as, if you have some free time right now, given the shifts in your business, utilize that to drive more digital engagement and to foster consumer loyalty and fan acquisition in your social channels. Basically, that being a fancy way of saying, find a way to engage with your audience and make sure they want to come back for more. Or you can even spend some time investing in learning more about how to institute a proper paid media campaign or email marketing strategy. And on the next slide, I'll offer some resources that can help you do that for free with obviously no additional cost other than obviously your time. There's, again, no one size fits all for how to use this time. Your efforts will look different depending on your target demographics, the resources you have available to you, and your business challenges. I will provide my contact information at the end, and I'm happy to spend some time talking to anyone who might want to over the next few weeks, given the unique situation, and help to give some advice about how you might want to spend some of your time to better optimize your needs and your strategy in the next few weeks. Which brings me to resources. So one thing we have seen, which is great, and Branchfood has done a fantastic job of curating these resources and information about this, is there are companies who are trying to come out and support small businesses in their time of need. Branchfood is continuing to aggregate relevant information for the community and online, and then also via their COVID-19 newsletter. So as Lauren said, you can go to their website and actually sign up for that directly there. I would highly suggest doing that. And then we have companies like Facebook and Google really showing up, actually, believe it or not, and offering financing for small businesses and grants. So Facebook's offering $100 million in cash grants and ad credits for up to 30,000 small businesses. Their applications are not open for this yet, but they will be opening in the coming weeks. If you just Google Facebook grants, you will find the webpage and you can sign up there. Google's also offering $340 million in ad credits right now for small businesses. You have to have utilized ads at some point in 2019, but if you have, you are eligible for these. Again, you can Google small business COVID grants or ad credits, and you will be able to find the information. Moving on to some of the resources you can utilize to learn how you can better optimize your business strategy in the digital field during this time. HubSpot is a great example. They're reducing the cost of a lot of their services right now, including email marketing suites. And some parts of their HubSpot Academy remain free for small businesses. So go to HubSpot, look at their Academy, look at the offers they have, which are on their front page for small businesses during this time. Utilize those right now. They're extending some of their free trials on different things. Shopify as well is extending free trials on applications for learning how to get your e-com off the ground, and also webinars for how-tos around that. So again, I can provide Lauren with some links around some of these items, and we can email them out to via the newsletter in the future, so make sure you sign up for that. But these are just some of the ways you can utilize your free time now to, try to refine that strategy, learn more. Again, happy to help talk to you about your business and what might be a good fit given your goals and given where you are in the midst of this pandemic landscape. So we'll share my contact information after the Q&A, and happy to talk a little more. And I know that was a lot. Trying to get as much as I can in here, and happy to answer any questions about anything I've presented or any questions I might have not addressed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. So we are going to open it up to Q&A now with attendees. We're going to experiment, as I'd mentioned before, with community opt-in. So if you have a question, please unmute yourself and you can ask Courtney at this time.
Hi, Courtney. This is Melissa Martinelli from Superfrau. Thank you so much for that presentation. I found it super helpful and practical. So
thank you.
I hope this question is applicable to others, but it's quite personal to my business. We were intending to launch officially this summer with our beverage in the Northeast region. And part of our marketing strategy was sort of an aggressive demo opportunity at locations where our product was sold. And I'm envisioning a future where that opportunity to engage with customers is not going to be there. And so just as a follow-up to your invest in digital portion, do you have any ideas on how we could digitally replace the demo opportunity that drives sales?
Absolutely. So actually, believe it or not, Lauren, Carol, Catherine, and I were discussing this the other day. So one thing you can do is try to utilize your network specifically around people who have digital audiences and digital presences. Obviously, it's not perfect as in-person demoing, but you can seed your product to them and potentially have them give away some of the product to their users or fans in some capacity. Again, it could be a giveaway, it could be a discount for trial testing, and if you have the capabilities for them to order it offline and have it shipped directly to them. But I think my recommendation, given your circumstances, was to build out some sort of influencer program. Not necessarily investing a ton of money in it. I think there's probably contacts you have or people you have in your life who have larger social channels who could potentially utilize their infrastructure to seed the product, give discounts for the product, to drive sampling in a digital way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question. Don't be shy. Just unmute. Okay. Oh, there we go.
Thank you so much. That was jam-packed full of really rich data. Do you have any suggestions on how people can kind of leverage, especially the brands that are reaching out to retailers for the first time, leverage a combination of LinkedIn to get in front of the retailers and let the retailers know they're doing all the right things, as well as using more the Facebook and the Instagram to connect with their users? Like, how can they have a unified voice and kind of get that rocking right now?
Yeah, and you're talking about specifically LinkedIn though, no other social platforms?
No, specifically the fact that they might be using LinkedIn to talk to retailers and Instagram and Facebook to talk to consumers. But right now, letting everyone, that used to be two different marketplaces, and now it's starting to become, we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a huge spike in LinkedIn usage as well. So it's definitely like a good platform to utilize that in that respect. I would say maybe a way to unify that messaging is if you have, say, a founder or someone who is the face of your company, have them basically utilize their messaging across their social channels, whether it's Instagram, social, or LinkedIn, to speak to both consumers and potential retailers, because I think that, you know, face of the company or founder of the company has that unique ability to get to speak to both in one voice, which is unusual, and potentially leverage them as kind of your resource. If you don't have that, I would say try to look into targeting your messaging via a paid campaign in some capacity. Interestingly enough, we have seen the cost of paid media within social, all channels, go down significantly. So it's much more accessible, believe it or not, at this point. So potentially look into targeting specific demographics, whether it's for more B2B standpoint or more B2C, depending on what works best for your brand, if that makes, is that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you. And I think it's helpful for most.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, any additional questions? Please unmute yourself and feel free to chime in. Okay, well, in that case, maybe Courtney, we can you can let people know how they can contact you going forward. Go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, happy to talk to anyone in the next few weeks. I know it's very unique, difficult time for many. So, you know, Branchfood's been fantastic. I would definitely encourage continuing to dial into the resources they have, and you're free to contact me as well. My contact information is on the screen right here. You can contact me via my website. There's a form there you can contact, or email me directly at Courtney@Courtney.
Excellent. Awesome. So thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow we will have Dan White, founder of Localvore, speaking specifically about the Localvore platform and optimizing e-commerce for your food business. As a quick reminder, all speaker information can be found at branchfood.com/servingupsupport. If you have further questions, don't be shy. Drop us a line at info@branchfood.com. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and Courtney's presentation and this recording will be made available to all of you. Where it is available will be communicated soon. So thank you everyone for joining, and good luck with the rest of your days.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.